And there's going to be the midterms. I've never seen so many Canadians all cheering on the Democrats. And I think there's 33 Senate seats up for grabs. 20 of them are Republican. But we saw what happened in Congress. We saw what happened in the Supreme Court. The walls are closing in, I believe, on President Trump right now, and he's feeling the pressure. So a lot of these jobs are border states that are being affected, and he needs those seats. So if it continues on, people are going to be unemployed, and which will affect the midterms.
Something just detonated on the world stage hours before Trump walks into that chamber tonight that has the Pentagon in emergency meetings and foreign policy experts calling it the most humiliating pre-speech collapse in modern presidential history. World leaders are not just criticizing this administration anymore. They are not just expressing concern through diplomatic channels. They are actively blocking Trump's military ambitions, freezing out his ambassadors, building economic alliances specifically designed to root around American power, and doing it all publicly and deliberately while the president prepares his biggest speech of the year. And his own generals are telling him the same thing the world is telling him. You do not have the support, you do not have the resources, and if you push forward anyway, the consequences will be catastrophic. Make sure you're subscribed to The John Brown Show, because what is happening internationally right now is not background noise to the State of the Union. It is the story that explains why that speech was already a damage control exercise before a single word gets delivered tonight. Here is where the military picture stands right now. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs has been directly advising Trump against military action against Iran. Not reluctantly, not with diplomatic hedging that leaves room for the president to claim support, directly, clearly, with specific warnings about critical munition shortfalls that would compromise any sustained operation, about the absence of allied support that any serious military campaign in the Middle East requires, about the very real risk that what Trump is describing as a limited targeted strike could open the door to a protracted regional war that draws America into exactly the kind of endless Middle Eastern conflict that cost this country trillions of dollars and thousands of lives over the past 2 decades. The general knows the operational reality. He is looking at inventory numbers and alliance commitments and logistical requirements. He is telling the president what those numbers mean. And Trump is publicly contradicting him on social media. Share this video because the gap between what the general is actually saying and what Trump is claiming the general said reveals the same pattern of reality distortion playing out on the international stage everywhere you look right now. Trump posted that reports about the general opposing military action against Iran are 100% incorrect, that the general believes an Iran operation would be easily won, that the reporting is fake and purposefully misleading. But CBS News sources familiar with the matter described military planners telling the president that limited strikes would almost certainly not be singular or decisive, that they would open doors to wider confrontation, that the operational risks are severe, and the international support that would make any campaign viable simply does not exist. Think about what it means when the Pentagon's own chairman is raising major red flags and the president responds by posting social media dismissals claiming easy victory. That is not a commander engaging with military reality. That is a president performing confidence for a domestic audience while his generals try to prevent a disaster. Make sure you're subscribed because the Allied support picture surrounding this Iran situation is the part of this story that makes the general's warning so urgent. Every major American ally that would historically contribute resources, basing rights, intelligence sharing, or coalition legitimacy to a Middle Eastern military operation has either explicitly refused to participate or made clear through diplomatic signals that this administration cannot count on their cooperation. The relationships that took decades to build through shared sacrifice, treaty obligations, and consistent American leadership have been systematically damaged by the same administration, now asking those countries to stand beside it in one of the most complex military environments on the planet. Israel remains the only partner willing to support action, And a unilateral American-Israeli operation against Iran without broader coalition backing, without allied basing support, without the international legitimacy that coalition warfare provides, is not the swift, decisive campaign being described in White House messaging. It is the opening move of a regional escalation that military planners are describing as potentially catastrophic, and Trump is standing at a podium tonight claiming the world has peace because of him. Share this video because what Canada is doing right now in direct response to Trump's foreign policy represents the most sophisticated diplomatic countermove any American ally has executed in decades. Prime Minister Carney is on a whirlwind international tour this week, hitting India, Australia, and Japan. He is meeting with Prime Minister Modi. He is addressing the Australian Parliament in the first such address by a Canadian Prime Minister in nearly 20 years. He is sitting with Japanese leadership in Tokyo, and the explicit purpose of every meeting is the same: reduce Canadian economic dependence on the United States, build the trade and investment architecture of a world that does not route through American economic cooperation. This is not a country quietly hedging its bets while hoping for better days. This is the closest American neighbor and trading partner publicly and systematically constructing an alternative economic future. Canada is becoming the bridge, the link connecting transatlantic partnerships with trans-Pacific ones, building a network that includes Europe, India, Australia, Japan. A network that notably does not center on Washington. Think about what it means for 9 million American jobs that wake up every day to build products and services for Ontario alone to be sitting inside a trade relationship that Canada is actively working to make less central to its economic survival. Make sure you're subscribed because the Conservative Premier of Ontario saying that the walls are closing in on Trump is a statement that carries specific political weight that the White House cannot dismiss. Doug Ford is not a Democrat. He is not a progressive. He is the Conservative Premier of Canada's largest province, a business-oriented politician who would, under normal circumstances, be expected to find common cause with a Republican-American administration on economic issues. And he is going on CNN to explain that tariffs on Canada are a tax on Americans, that 9 million American jobs are connected to Ontario alone, that the economic uncertainty Trump has created is already producing real price increases that American consumers are feeling at checkout lines across the country, and that the walls are closing in when conservative politicians in allied countries are saying the walls are closing in on the American president. That is not partisan spin. That is a business-oriented assessment of economic and political trajectory from someone with no incentive to manufacture bad news about a right-leaning American administration. Share this video because France just took an action against a Trump ambassador that has no precedent in the modern history of American diplomatic relations. Charles Kushner was appointed as the American ambassador to France. Before his appointment, he had pleaded guilty to multiple felony counts, including tax evasion and witness tampering. The witness tampering involved hiring individuals to compromise his own brother-in-law and then using that material to prevent testimony at a criminal trial. That is the individual Trump nominated to represent the United States at one of America's most important diplomatic posts. The French government summoned him to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs after he publicly attacked French domestic politics. He did not show up. France's response was immediate and extraordinary. No French government official is permitted to meet with him. He has been frozen out of the diplomatic relationship entirely. An American ambassador has been effectively rendered non-functional in one of America's closest European allies because he refused to appear when summoned and had previously interfered in French domestic political discourse. Think about what it means for American diplomatic capacity that the ambassador to France cannot speak to French government officials, that the foreign policy apparatus in one of the most strategically significant bilateral relationships the United States maintains is operating without functional diplomatic communication because a pardoned felon with no diplomatic experience attacked French politics and then ignored a formal government summons. Make sure you're subscribed because the Greenland hospital ship story that collapsed under scrutiny before tonight's speech perfectly captures how this administration operates when the truth is inconvenient. Trump announced publicly that hospital ships were being deployed to Greenland. He posted about it. The governor of Louisiana amplified it. It was presented as evidence of American generosity and military reach in a strategically significant region that this administration has been publicly targeting for territorial acquisition. The Pentagon received no such orders. The Wall Street Journal confirmed that no orders had been issued to deploy any naval vessels to Greenland. The Navy's 2 hospital ships are both currently in dry dock in Alabama. One is undergoing repairs not expected to be completed until April. The other is in the middle of a year-long maintenance period. Neither vessel has its engines running. Neither is heading to Greenland. Neither was ever going to Greenland. When reporters asked the Navy and Pentagon for clarification, they were directed to the White House. When reporters asked the White House, they were told to look at Trump's Truth Social posts. A statement that was simply false, amplified across government channels and then abandoned when the facts became impossible to deny, with every official pointing at someone else when pressed for accountability. This is the same administration that is claiming tonight that the world has peace because of American leadership. Share this video because what is happening in the United Kingdom simultaneously adds another layer to the international accountability story that surrounds this State of the Union address. The former British ambassador to the United States has been arrested in the United Kingdom in connection with his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Former Prince Andrew has lost his royal titles and faces criminal proceedings in connection with the same network. International accountability for Epstein's associates is advancing in multiple countries simultaneously. In the United States, the officials responsible for any such accountability investigation have publicly stated that Epstein did not traffic anyone, a claim that the document releases continue to contradict with each new batch of emails and records. Around the world, governments are acting, arrests being made, officials resigning, investigations proceeding. In Washington, the cover continues. Think about what Trump is walking into tonight. A chamber missing 70 Democratic members who refuse to normalize this administration's conduct. Epstein survivors in the audience wearing teal scarves and butterfly pins. A foreign policy environment where the chairman of the Joint Chiefs is warning against military action. World leaders are refusing to provide support. Canada is building trade networks to replace American economic centrality. France has frozen out the American ambassador, and the hospital ships Trump claimed were deployed to Greenland are sitting in dry dock in Alabama. Make sure you're subscribed because the contradiction between the speech Trump is about to give and the world that actually exists outside that chamber has never been wider in any State of the Union address in living memory. He will claim the world has peace. His general says a Middle Eastern war could be catastrophic without allied support that does not exist. He will claim American strength is respected globally. France has banned his ambassador from meeting with government officials. He will claim economic triumph. Canada is dismantling its dependency on American trade with deliberate urgency. He will claim tariffs are working. His own Fox News economist called them a losing proposition hours before the speech. The walls are closing in. That is not democratic messaging. That is a conservative Canadian premier. That is a Federal Reserve economic study. That is a Pentagon chairman raising red flags. That is a French government freezing out an American ambassador. That is world leaders refusing to provide military support for operations being planned from the White House. And it is all happening tonight, before the speech ends, while the world watches. This story is just getting started. Stay tuned.